Ley, welcome back, and thank you so much again for sitting down with us and answering a lot more detailed information that we all want to know about. But to begin, can you tell us a little bit more about vested capital? What is that?
Okay, well, Vested Capital, I guess, a summary of it is a private real estate private equity firm that me and my partner Marcus Jackson started early in 2019. So, I mean, real estate private equity is just a fancy way of saying like we pretty much invest in real estate and we focus on like multifamily strictly. And I think there are two things that really kind of like help us, like that really kind of like drove the motive for Vested Capital. Yeah, we both know we were like really passionate about real estate. That was after we did that house hack thing I was talking about in part one, when we bought the first house in New Jersey. So we both knew there was a passion there, right? And the other aspect of it was, well, we wanted to pretty much offer others, whether that's high income earners, people that's earning quite a bit of amount of money, or not even high income earners, like medium income earners, or pretty much anybody really, different ways to like gain wealth really, because we noticed, I mean, obviously, like a lot of people save money in like their bank accounts, and it's not much interest that you're getting off of that. Like you're not getting anything to really beat inflation. So I think that's one thing we could start off from. So like we kind of like we're just thinking to ourselves was like, okay, well, I mean, if people don't really have access to the knowledge or don't really know, right, then like they won't really know how to like invest their money. Yeah, they could invest in the stock markets, but like um, those are also like quite limited in terms of what you can get in returns and stuff. So I think there was two main motives for Vested Capital in terms of like what it is and what we founded it is. One, we wanted to apply that passion that we have for real estate, right, and then we also wanted to offer others different like ways to like different vehicles to like create wealth, and as in like get like investing and like buying real estate and like building wealth a long time. So
Oh my goodness, that's so interesting. So, can you tell me a little bit more about what your role is at Vested Capital?
yeah, so I think I mentioned this with my partner Marcus Jackson. So he's in charge of like investor relations and everything pretty much like externally for us. And pretty much my role is I do all of the acquisitions. I'm in charge of like all the acquisitions and like all of the internal things with the teams. And then pretty much like from a higher level, like strategic directions or like where I think we should go. But what I mean by that is acquisitions, meaning anywhere from like selecting the market we want to invest in, right? I mean, the main core of it is like we're buying like multifamilies, like we're buying real estate, um, and so like we have to like select the market. We have to like select the actual house that we like, asset that we like, the deal we were looking at and buying. So that we have to underwrite that. I'm a numbers guys all day. Pretty much kind of speak from my engineering background, right? So I love looking at the numbers. I love like projecting numbers. I love like setting up the team and really talking to the lenders and really understanding the financing aspect of it, and like how are we gonna like finance this deal, what kind of lenders we're gonna use. Um, so and then like my partner, he's like pretty much like help us handles a lot of the investor relations, as in like he talks with like a lot of the investors that we have, and pretty much give them a good insight of like, okay, what's going on? This is what your money is going to be investing in. This is what we feel really good about it, and then this is what we could offer you a really good return on your investment. So going into like a little bit about like the market selection aspect, um, essentially like real estate, it boils down to a couple of things, right? Like real estate, like people, it really actually it boils down to one thing: the fact that people need places to live. And by real estate, I mean there are quite a few different of like asset classes or like different sections of real estate. But I'm mostly speaking of what we invest in, which is multifamilies. And people need places to live, right? And that for that, they either until people start figuring out how to go to Mars and stuff, but like um, they're either gonna like buy a place or rent a place. Those are the two options that we have, right? So as long as there continue to be people in the world, and as long as they're always going to need a place to live. So um, when we select the markets, right, we look at the population, in terms of like population growth, like of people moving to that area, right, and what's pretty much dragging them to that area, and that's typically most of the time like jobs, right? So like for example, something as simple as like New York, right? Like I moved from Florida to New York because of my job out of college, like didn't make that move, and so like we look at like the job growth, and not just that, we look at like what kind of job it is, right? So like you have a lot of jobs, for instance, that was taken away or wiped out by COVID or something like that. So there's different type of like industries, right? I mean, nobody could, I guess, really saw like COVID coming or expected it to some extent, but like you want a market that has like a wide variety or like a good diversity when it comes to like the different industries that they that they have jobs in. For example, if you want to take New York, like New York is good for, like known for tech, finance, fashion, entertainment. There's a lot. It's quite diverse, right? So that means if one area goes out, like tech is doing really well. Nobody pretty much in tech is losing their jobs like, during COVID. So you know, like, and you wanna know all of those things because um, as long as people have their jobs, they're gonna keep paying their rent. And as an investor, real estate investor, that's pretty much how you make your money.
It sounds to me like a lot of different pieces kind of come into play here. But, between market selection and the deal criteria and the pipeline, all of that, what's the most difficult part about that for you?
Oh man, I mean, I think like me and my partner, I actually attempted to answer this as like a clear warning sign of like, okay, this is the most difficult thing that you should expect if you're gonna coming into this. But uh, it's hard to say really because we've said that. Well, I think one thing me and my partner always say is that like real estate is not for everybody. Not everybody's, I guess, really cut out to make that type of work. But the ones that are like, it's a lot of. I think the one thing that I would say is, um, it's a lot of like up and down like swing. I mean that's pretty much for any business, right? Like, um, I would say probably like just expectations, because you're dealing with a lot of different um, parts, like you said, right? So like um, you're dealing with sellers and lenders and like people that are actually gonna make the deal happen for you, like people that are like the title companies, a lot of different like aspects and like outside investors, right? So like it could be somewhat like hard to manage all those expectations, but I think it drills down to like really like how you if you really good at like managing relationships, then I think you could succeed at it. Like obviously if you have the mindset right and like know this the way you're doing, as I said earlier, but like if you get at managing relationships, which we value or like we put a big emphasis on here like within our firm. So like if you get at that, I think you could make it through, but it's not like an easy breeze. It's always like ups and downs dealing with like people like your lenders might not come through on a closing day, and you might have to try to figure out like how you're gonna get the money to close or um, and stuff like that. So it happens, it's just like it could be like I guess a roller coaster ride, you could call it, in terms of like your emotions. So
Overall, your entire roller coaster ride of starting Vested Capital, whether you realized you had started it or not,
yeah.
what's one thing that you wish you would have done differently? And do you have any general advice for someone watching this show?
Um, I'll start with the advice actually. Like I think one thing I realized, like it's not like specifically because I mean I assume a lot of millennials are gonna listen to the show. So like I would say it's not something that's common for people in their 20s buying like multiple houses, right? So like you're gonna hear a lot of no's, you're gonna hear a lot of like, what are you doing? It doesn't make sense. You're gonna try to get advice from people that don't really know what you're trying to do, right? It's not the hardest thing to like be 20 and like let's say like trying to like buy multiple houses and stuff. It's not really like the most trendy thing, so it's gonna take a lot of effort. It's gonna take a lot of like encouragement, but like I think it's gonna come down to like having the mindset, right? Like if you have the mindset, you know what you're doing. You got the education, and it's not gonna make sense to most. It might not even make sense to your parents. I remember the first time I said to my parents like what my goal was within 2 years. I was like, okay, I want to buy like 20 properties within 2 years. They was like, that's impossible. I said, why? You never really done that before. But yeah, it's gonna like you're gonna hear a lot of questions. But once you have the mindset and it makes sense in your head, then you gotta like go for it. Like you have to like look. I would say probably look to like network for with people that's already done what you're trying to do, right? And then that's don't maybe trying to limit the amount of advice you get from others that haven't done what you're trying to do. Especially because if you're on that age, it's not common. And I believe the first question, the first part of that question was, um, I guess, what advice was it?
What did you wish you did differently?
Oh yeah. I mean, actually, I don't know if I have any regrets. Actually, like,
Okay, good.
um, the one thing I could say that's close to regret is that I wish I started earlier. Like, I wish this goes out to like a lot of the college kids. Like, I feel like college is like the perfect time to house hack, like buy a house and just like let's say you live in one room and like rent out the other rooms instead of paying rent. Like, it pretty much like the math numbers adds up to the same, and then you actually get to keep an asset, like get to keep a house under your name, right? So like, um, as at a younger age, you get a lot more flexibility in terms of what you could do with yourself. Like you could move around without being held back by family members or I guess kids per se. So I think if I had anything close to regret, um, was that would have been it. Like, wish I had started earlier, maybe like junior year, and like instead of I guess wasting the money, I could have like have a couple lot more houses by then. But I think that I don't have any regrets. I don't regret any mistakes I've made. Um, I think that's pretty much what allowed me to learn from it. And like for somebody who's just getting started, like don't you're gonna read all the books. You're gonna like let's say you read all the books. You talk to as many people. You're still gonna make mistakes.
Mhm.
Um, the first deal you buy is most likely not gonna be as deal perfect as it's described in the book. Those people that are writing the book, they've done multiple deals before, so like they know how to like get a perfect deal. You might not be able to do that, and so like just if it makes sense, don't be afraid to get it started, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Most importantly, because that's how you learn.
Wow, such sound advice. And honestly, I wish I would have started in college too, because you're right. It You would have had something for all that money that you spent on rent before. And plus I lived in the same place for pretty much 3 to 4 years. So it would have made a whole lot more sense.
Yeah.
But for anyone that wants to contact you or follow you and your 20 houses or additional sound advice, how can they do so? What platforms are you on?
I'm on Instagram quite a bit. Um, uh, my handle is Later Capitalist. Pretty much most of the social media platforms except Twitter. You could also email me. I think you have my email, so I think you might be able to give it to um, on like upon request. And yeah, I'm pretty open. Like I love talking about real estate. Really, like I guess like a open book kind of thing you could say. So like people come to me all the time and just like obviously like first time people are trying to do this first time investors with any questions. And given the fact that I'm quite young as well, so like I kind of relate to a lot of other people in that sense. So yeah, I mean, any social media platform, Facebook, I'm also on Facebook sometimes, but probably mostly on IG. And you could find me on email as well.
Perfect. Well, Lay, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to answer all of the questions and being part of not just one, but two really great videos. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And I can't wait to see where you and Vesset Capital go. And I hope that, you have just a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
It was an absolute pleasure to come on and talk about I guess my passion real estate, and definitely enjoy the time. And thank you for the invite. I hope listeners they will enjoy this as well. So thank you.